House Beyond Halcion, a horror story of memory and madness. I drift back into myself slowly, like a fog rolling in, thick and quiet. The world outside is a smear of grays and blacks, rain streaking across the windshield in slow motion. Each drop stretches its way down the glass, clinging before it gives up, dragging itself out of sight. Lightning flashes in the distance, but it feels distant, like it's meant for someone else, not me. The thunder rumbles lazily after, a low growl that's too tired to care. A song seeps through the static on the radio, something old and scratchy. It crackles in and out, like it's tired too, barely hanging on to its own melody. I don't know the tune, but it plays anyway, filling the empty space. I just sit there, watching the rain, the wipers dragging across the glass now and then, not doing much of anything. My head's heavy, slow, like someone stuffed it with cotton. I turn my eyes, not my head, down toward the floor. There's the whiskey bottle, rolling back and forth with the rhythm of the storm. It's empty, of course. The floor's a mess, mud, wet leaves, and who knows what else stuck to the soles of my shoes. I don't rush to do anything, just sit there, breathing slow, like the whole world decided to slow down with me. The vodka's still in the seat next to me, half gone, leaning lazily against the cushion. The cap's somewhere, maybe lost under the seat or rolling around with the whiskey bottle. Doesn't matter. None of it really matters. I should feel something. Regret, maybe, or a need to piece together what happened. But I don't. The rain taps softly on the roof, lulling me into that in-between place. My hand brushes over the steering wheel, slick from the damp air, but I don't grip it. Just let my fingers rest there, waiting for some signal to move, but none comes. Halcyon, I whisper, more to myself than anything. His name hangs there, soft and empty. Where is he? I should know, but the thought drifts away before I can grab it. He's always been there, at least I think he has, grinning, laughing like the world didn't weigh him down the way it did the rest of us. I close my eyes for a moment, just long enough for another roll of thunder to pass. Everything feels distant, like I'm watching from somewhere else. I slip, somewhere between here and nowhere, where thoughts aren't quite mine, and it comes like a whisper. A man in uniform, buttons gleaming under a moonlit halo, his eyes dark but certain, lips move with no voice. He isn't who he thinks he is. Behind him, lights, blinding, like a million stars bursting through my mind, each one sharper than the last, digging into my eyes until they water, until I can't look but can't turn away. Then, nothing. The light is gone, and the man too, faded into whatever dark place things like him go when they're done with you. And my car twisted into the ditch, nose buried in the mud, like it tried to escape but didn't know how. The only thing outside is the rain, pounding the earth like it's trying to break in, thunder groaning over everything, and lightning that cracks the sky apart but leaves nothing behind. I blink, but the dream's still there, clinging to the edges of my mind. And I'm back, sitting in the car, the rain the only thing that feels real. The rain keeps up its steady rhythm, the world outside blurred into streaks of gray. I exhale, slow, watching the breath fog the glass. My hand drifts toward the passenger seat, brushing past the half-empty bottle, and lands on my phone. It's slick with condensation, the screen glowing dimly through a thin layer of moisture. A swipe clears it enough to see, but the signal's weak, barely a bar flickering in the corner. I scroll through my contacts, eyes unfocused, thumb tracing over familiar names. I pick one. Call it. The phone rings, but it's muffled, distant, like the sound is being dragged through the storm outside. Then, it picks up. A crackle. Not a voice, but music. Low, scratchy, the sound bending in and out, like it's coming from an old radio that's been left on too long. Jazz, I think. Maybe. The horns warble, slow and sad, like the notes themselves are tired. I pull the phone away from my ear, glance at the screen. Still connected. I frown, end the call, and try someone else. Same thing. A burst of static, followed by that same warped music. It feels wrong, like it's coming from somewhere deep underground, echoing through cracks and tunnels. I try again, dialing another friend. The phone rings, longer this time, the static creeping in before the answer. Jazz. That same eerie, distorted rhythm. This time, a trumpet blares, the sound strained and distant, like it's being played in a room too small for it. I hang up. The rain pounds harder against the windshield, and the music seems to linger, like it's playing from somewhere inside my head. I toss the phone onto the seat, its screen still glowing faintly, like it's watching me. I don't know why, but I pick it back up, swipe to the maps. Maybe I can get my bearings, figure out where I am. The map loads slow, the little circle spinning in the corner like it's as confused as I am. Then, finally, it pings. The dot shows up, blinking, pulsing gently, but it's not right. The map's zooming in and out, the screen jittering like it can't settle on a place. One moment I'm here, the next I'm not. It jumps from state to state, flickering between cities, then whole continents, like I'm moving faster than the storm outside. The little blue dot showing my location flits across the ocean, across mountains, into places I've never been. I zoom out, trying to make sense of it, but the more I zoom out, the more I'm everywhere. The dot pulses in New York, then flashes in London, then somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic. Each place is just as wrong as the next. I swipe at the screen, but it keeps jumping, scattering like my mind, trying to pinpoint a place that doesn't seem to exist. No matter how far I zoom, no matter where I look, the map's a mess of places, everywhere, and nowhere at all. The air inside the car feels tight, too thick to breathe. I fumble with the door handle, but it won't budge, like the rain's welded it shut. I shift, awkwardly sliding through the open window, my shoulders scraping the edge. The rain hits me hard, cold and unrelenting. My feet sink into the mud, and before I know it, I'm slipping, my hands scrabbling against the wet earth, trying to find something to hold on to. The ditch is deeper than it looked, and the mud's like quicksand, sucking me in as I claw my way up. My fingers dig in, but the ground gives way, slick and unforgiving. The rain pours down, turning the world into a gray blur of sound and cold. My arms burn, slipping again as I try to pull myself up. Then, a voice cuts through the rain. Not loud, not sharp, just there, like it's been waiting all along. Need a hand? I freeze, the mud pulling me down, my heart thudding in my chest. I look up. A figure stands at the edge of the ditch. It's black and white, like something from an old film reel. Not quite human, but not something else either. Small, maybe up to my waist, though it's hard to tell in the rain. It leans forward slightly, extending a hand, its fingers thin and delicate, like porcelain. I know that hand. I've seen it before. Halcion, I mutter, almost laughing despite the cold and the mud pulling me deeper. He's always there, always shows up when I need him. Or maybe when I don't. Come on, Blake, you know the drill, the figure says, grinning that crooked grin of his. Grab my hand. I don't even hesitate. I reach up, fingers slipping for a second before I catch his. The moment I do, it's like the mud doesn't matter anymore. Halcyon pulls me up, light as a feather, like the weight of the world doesn't mean a thing to him. He's always been like that. I find my footing on the slick grass, the rain still coming down in sheets, but it doesn't seem to touch him. He's clean, dry, untouched by the storm. Halcyon's been around for as long as I can remember, since I was 6, at least. There was that fever, the one that felt like it would never break. Days blurred together in a haze of sweat and shivering. And Halcyon appeared. Back then, he'd sit at the edge of my bed, legs dangling, smiling down at me, telling me stories, jokes, showing me the way when nothing made sense. Always got your back, he'd say, like it was a promise. He was there when no one else was, guiding me through those fever dream days. And he never left. Not really. He's always there to lead the way. Tell me what to say, what to do. I look at him now, standing beside me, his black and white form almost glowing against the dark backdrop of the storm. He's changed a little over the years, but not much. He's still Halcyon, still my friend. Good to see you again, he says, voice soft but firm. Yeah, I murmur, wiping the mud from my hands. You always show up when things get messy. He laughs, and it's the same laugh from all those years ago. Light, teasing, like he's in on a joke no one else understands. Halcyon flashes me that crooked grin again. Then, without a word, he spins, light on his feet, like a ballerina gliding across a stage. His movements are fluid, almost too graceful for something so small. The rain doesn't touch him. It parts around him as he twirls and leaps, his feet barely grazing the ground. For a second, I'm mesmerized, watching him sway through the air as if the world is his to dance through. Then, as quickly as he started, he's gone, slipping behind a tree, his black and white figure swallowed by the night. The rain falls harder, colder, but Halcyon is gone, like he was never there. I stand there staring at the spot where he disappeared, my heart still pounding. The ditch is behind me, the mud caked on my clothes, but there's nowhere to go back to. I look down the road, trying to make sense of the world through the haze of rain. The road stretches out ahead, long and winding, both ends fading into the blackness, like the night has swallowed the way forward and back. There's no telling where it leads, or if it ever ends. The trees line the edges, their gnarled branches twisting like claws against the dark sky. The forest feels alive, endless, yawning open like a mouth waiting to devour whatever strays too close. I take a breath, glance up and down the road again, but it's the same in both directions. An abyss, a void that promises nothing but more darkness. Well, there's no use standing here. I pick a direction, any direction, and start walking. The rain beats down on me, soaking through my clothes, but I keep moving, one foot in front of the other. The road beneath my shoes feels rough, uneven, like it's been here forever, but I don't care. I just keep walking, and walking. The road stretches out like a thread pulled from some forgotten fabric, unraveling into the fog. There are no signs, no markers, no sense of time or place. It just is. The asphalt beneath my feet feels real enough. Solid in that way things are when you need them to be. But it doesn't belong here. The forest looms on either side, trees reaching up like skeletal hands, their branches tangled in the mist, twisting shapes that flicker in the corners of my vision. It's like the road was cut out of reality itself, hanging in the space between worlds, existing only because I'm walking it now. The air is thick with fog, heavy, clinging to my skin like a cold breath, and the road floats through it, silent, without reason. No other cars, no distant hum of life, just the steady beat of my footsteps and the soft patter of rain on leaves. It feels temporary, fragile, as though if I stopped walking, if I closed my eyes for too long, it might vanish altogether, and I'd be left standing in nothing at all. There's no past or future here, just this stretch of road that winds and curves, disappearing into a fog that never clears, a world only half formed. It doesn't lead anywhere, it just is. Lightning streaks across the asphalt, lighting up the road in a flash of pale white, followed by the crack of thunder, loud and violent. But it doesn't shake me. It's as though the storm and I have come to an understanding. It rages, and I keep walking. My shoes slap the wet road, the sound lost in the endless space between here and nowhere. I blink, squinting through the fog, when something catches my eye up ahead. There, Rising above the trees, a building emerges from the mist, perched on a hill like it's been waiting all this time. It's old, stone and brick. The kind of architecture that feels like it belongs to another era. The edges are sharp, precise, the roof sloped and angular, casting long shadows that seem to stretch down to the road. Iron bars run across the windows, but it's not those that hold my attention. It's the light. Every window glows with a warm amber hue, soft and inviting, cutting through the cold night like a beacon. The lights don't flicker or waver. They burn steadily, casting a golden halo around the place. Despite the rain, the fog, and the night closing in on all sides, the building feels alive, humming quietly in the distance. It towers, rigid and solid, the kind of place where time moves slower, where everything is orderly, like it runs on an old rhythm, one set decades ago and never interrupted. The front steps lead up to heavy wooden doors, dark and polished, with iron handles that seem to belong in another century. I don't know why, but the sight of it doesn't unsettle me. In fact, it feels like it was always meant to be here, on this stretch of road, waiting for me. As I stare at the building, wondering if I should even go up there, Halcion slips out from behind a tree, his black and white form practically glowing in the mist. He's grinning, that same mischievous grin that's been with me since I was a kid. "Go on," he says, waving a hand toward the building like it's the most obvious thing in the world. "Tell the fellas inside, hello." I blink, and in an instant, he's gone. I don't even have time to process before he pops up again, this time from behind another tree, further up the road. "Who knows, they might be waiting for you," he adds, his voice sing-song, like he's leading me into some big surprise. Another blink, another tree. "Hello, hello, hello," he calls out, his voice bouncing off the trees like an echo, his figure flickering from place to place as if he's skipping through time itself. I can't help but smile. There's something so ridiculous about it. Halcyon always pulling me along, always playing his games. "Oh, of course," I mutter, shaking my head. The rain drips off my nose, soaking through my clothes. It'd get me out of this rain anyway. Halcyon laughs, the sound fading as quickly as he disappears again, leaving me standing there, half smiling in the pouring rain. I look up at the building, its amber windows glowing softly through the fog. I make my way up the hill, shoes squelching in the mud as I get closer to the building. The rain has slowed to a drizzle, but it clings to me, heavy and cold. The building looms ahead, more imposing with each step, its windows glowing warm, inviting. At the door, there's one of those long, old-fashioned rope doorbells, hanging from the side like a forgotten relic. I stare at it for a second, unsure. Do I pull it, or just knock? My hand hovers near the rope, but before I can make a decision, something catches my eye. "Let me get that for you." Halcyon leaps into the air, light as ever, grabbing onto the rope like it's a swing. He kicks his feet, and the bell rings, a loud, clear chime that echoes through the night. I blink, and just like that, he's gone again, vanished into the shadows like he was never there. The rope sways gently, as if waving goodbye. The door creaks open. A flood of golden light spills out, hitting me square in the face. I blink against the brightness, my eyes adjusting. There, standing in the doorway, is a woman, old, her frame small but upright, backlit by the warm amber glow coming from inside. She looks like a silhouette against the light, her features lost in the shine. For a moment, I think I should speak, say something, anything, but the words never come. Instead, her voice breaks the silence, soft and kind. "Oh dear, you must be lost, soaked to the bone too. Come in, come in. Poor thing, you look so confused." Her words wash over me, and it's like she's reading my mind, speaking the thoughts I couldn't form myself. I don't answer. I just stand there, rain dripping off my clothes, staring at her. She smiles, or I think she does. It's hard to tell with the light framing her like that. but the warmth in her voice makes it feel like a smile. "Come inside," she says again, stepping aside to let me through. No need to stand out there in the cold. I don't know why, but I move. My feet shuffle forward, and before I know it, I'm inside. The door closes softly behind me, and the rain is gone. The moment I step inside, the warmth hits me like a blanket, wrapping itself around my soaked clothes and chilled skin. Everything glows with that amber hue. The walls, the furniture, the floor. It all seems to pulse with a soft light, like the place itself is alive. Wood and stone make up the interior, dark and heavy, giving the room a sense of age and weight, like it's been standing here for centuries, unmoved by time or the world outside. I take a step forward, my shoes tapping softly on the stone floor, and for a split second, just a blink of an eye, it changes. Bright, harsh lights, fluorescent white. The smell of antiseptic hits my nose, sharp and sterile. Figures move, doctors, nurses, rushing around me in a blur of white coats, the walls lined with metal, tile floors gleaming under the intense lights. I hear the beeping of machines, the hurried footsteps, but then, gone. The warmth returns. That amber glow clinging to everything again, as if nothing ever changed. The figures in the hall are no longer doctors or nurses. Instead, they're wearing clean, simple uniforms, pants and buttoned shirts, with white aprons tied around their waists. They move slowly, deliberately, as if nothing in this place ever hurries. And then there's the sound. Low at first, but growing as I listen. Moaning. Not close, but somewhere further back, beyond where I can see. It's mixed with something else, yelling, desperate, like someone's trying to claw their way out of something terrible. The voices rise and fall, fading in and out like they're part of the walls themselves. I glance at the old woman who led me inside. She stands close, barely reaching my shoulder. She's hunched slightly, her back curved from age, and thick glasses sit on the bridge of her nose, the amber light reflecting off the lenses so I can't see her eyes. The glow hides so much of her face, but her smile remains soft, friendly. "This way, dear," she says, her voice kind, as though we're the only two people in the world. She motions with a small hand, and I follow, the sound of my shoes echoing as we walk through the corridor. The light stays with us, flickering now and then, but never fully fading. She leads me to a large room with heavy wooden furniture, a wide fireplace crackling softly in the corner. The light here is just as warm, just as comforting, though it casts long shadows across the stone walls. "Sit down," she says, patting the arm of an old chair. "You must be exhausted." I sink into the chair without a word, still trying to shake off that flash of bright light, the feeling that I'd glimpsed something else, a different place hidden beneath this one. The moaning continues, but it feels distant now, muffled by the walls. The old woman stands nearby, watching me, smiling. The amber glow clings to her too, hiding whatever's behind those thick glasses. I sit there, sinking deeper into the chair, the warmth from the fire wrapping around me like a thick blanket. The flames flicker and dance in the hearth, their soft crackling the only sound for a while. The amber light from the fire mixes with the glow of the room, making everything feel distant, like I'm watching it from the other side of a foggy window. I can't pull my eyes away from the fire. It feels like it's pulling me in. The old woman stands nearby, her hands clasped in front of her. She watches the fire too, and after a moment, she starts to speak. Her voice is soft, almost a whisper, like she's not quite sure where the words are coming from. "This place," she begins, "feels like I've been here forever. Since it was built, I think." She pauses, tilting her head slightly, as though trying to grasp at something just out of reach. "Yes, since it was built." Her voice trails off, and for a moment, I think that's the end of it. But then she laughs, softly, the sound almost musical, although I don't quite remember when that was. She looks at me, her thick glasses still reflecting the firelight. her eyes hidden behind the glow. There's that smile again, gentle, kind, and yet something about it feels distant. She leans in just a little, her voice dropping as though she's about to share a secret. "How old are you, dear?" I blink, pulling my gaze away from the flames. 29. She nods slowly, her smile widening a fraction, like she's just pieced something together. 29, she repeats, her voice thoughtful. She taps her fingers lightly on the arm of the chair, her gaze drifting back to the fire. "I've been here. Yes, 23 years. The words come out in a soft sigh, like she's just remembering it now, for the first time. 23 years. She nods again, as though the number means something, though I'm not sure what. From somewhere beyond the walls, the faint moaning I heard earlier grows louder. It rises and falls like a distant storm, accompanied by sharp bursts of yelling, incoherent but frantic. The sounds echo, bouncing off the stone walls, filling the air with an almost rhythmic pulse. I shift in my seat, glancing over at the old woman. She seems to notice it too. Her head tilts slightly, her thick glasses reflecting the glow of the fire. The moaning turns into something else, laughter, high-pitched and unsettling, rolling through the hallways like a wave. We both look up at the same time, and she sighs, the sound soft and almost tired. "The people staying here," she begins, her voice quiet, as though not wanting to disturb whatever is happening beyond the walls. "They're not well." She clasps her hands in front of her, her fingers moving slowly, like she's considering each word before saying it. "They often see or hear things that, well, aren't really there." The sounds continue, louder now, the laughter breaking off into more yelling, voices overlapping, each trying to drown out the others. She pauses, listening for a moment, her lips pressing together in thought. "Then again," she adds, her tone shifting, "maybe they are seeing something. Maybe what they're seeing is real in some strange way. It's all a matter of perspective, isn't it?" Her words hang in the air, and I feel a chill run down my spine. The fire crackles softly, but the warmth feels distant, like it can't reach me anymore. The old woman turns toward me, her smile soft but thoughtful, almost sad. "We've all agreed to one reality, of course," she says, her voice picking up a hint of amusement, as though the concept itself is slightly absurd. "To keep things orderly, a shared understanding of the world." She lets out a soft laugh, shaking her head. "It's a shame, really, but that's the nature of shared psychosis, I suppose." She looks up toward the ceiling again, as though listening to the moans and laughter with a kind of distant acceptance. "The most popular psychosis gets to be real." Her words echo in my head, the idea settling in like a weight. The sounds outside the room grow louder, but now they seem to blend with her voice. The moans, the laughter, and her soft smile all mixing together in a way that makes me question if any of this is real. She looks back at me, the amber glow still masking her eyes. "It's just the way things are," she says softly, almost like a mother explaining something to a child. "The way they've always been." The moans and laughter grow louder, pressing against the warm amber glow that fills the room. It's as if the walls themselves are breathing in sync with the sounds, expanding and contracting with each wail. The old woman's head tilts again, and she sighs softly. "Oh dear," she murmurs, her voice still calm, but with a hint of concern now. She turns to me, her small figure casting a long shadow in the firelight. "I should check on that," she says, her tone almost apologetic. "I'll be back in a bit, dear. You just stay put." With that, she shuffles off, her steps soft against the stone floor, her figure disappearing into the darkened hallway. The sounds grow fainter as she moves further away, swallowed by the depths of the building. I sit there, staring into the fire again. The flames flicker, twisting in the hearth, the heat brushing against my face. For a moment, I feel like the room is empty, like I'm alone with nothing but the crackling fire and my own thoughts. But then, From the corner of my eye, I see it. A tiny ember, glowing at the edge of the fire, sparks to life. It dances on the edge of the flames, bright and quick. And then, with a little pop, something leaps out of the hearth. Halcyon. He lands on the stone floor with a little flourish, immediately stretching and twisting, his shape morphing. In seconds, he's standing there, dressed in the old woman's clothes, his body bent and hunched, thick glasses perched on his nose. He gives me a wicked grin, mimicking her slow, deliberate movements, walking with her slight shuffle. Maybe I should check on that, Halcyon says in a high, mockingly sweet voice, sounding just like her. His lips curl into a laugh, but then he waves his hand dismissively, still in her form. "Phooey," he exclaims, flinging his arm in a grand gesture of dismissal. He twirls on his heel and, with a giggle, jumps back into the fireplace, vanishing into the flames as though he were never there. The fire crackles, sending sparks into the air, but I just sit there, staring, my mind barely registering what happened. It's like watching the fire itself. Something happens, and then it's gone. I blink, my gaze steady on the flames, when something else creeps in. The sound of squeaking wheels, faint but growing. It pulls at my attention, dragging me away from the warmth of the fire. The sound grates, metallic and sharp, and suddenly the room around me flickers. The amber glow is gone. Harsh, blinding fluorescent lights buzz overhead once again, making the air feel sterile and cold. What is this place? I blink again, but this time the fire's warmth doesn't come back. Instead, I see white walls, a floor that shines under the bright lights, and the distant sound of those squeaking wheels approaching. I sit still, my body tensing. Am I waiting for something? For someone? The question rolls around in my head, though I'm not sure what it means. I glance around, the smell of antiseptic sharp in my nose, the hum of the lights buzzing, the sound of distant voices, fading. But then, as quickly as it came, it's gone. The amber glow returns, the warm light wrapping around me once more, the fireplace crackling softly in the background. The squeaking wheels fade into the distance, and the room is still again, as though nothing ever happened. I just stare, unmoving, as the fire continues to burn. Where do I begin and the world ends? I'm trapped in my own matrix, in my own show. Each step, each breath, feels like a line already written, like I'm walking through a play that repeats itself over and over. The same places and faces, twisting into something else but never quite leaving. I watch the fire, its flames curling, reaching out like hands trying to pull me in. I feel the warmth on my skin, but it's distant. Even my thoughts feel borrowed, as though they belong to someone else, whispered into my head when I wasn't looking. Who am I in all this? A ghost. I can feel the walls breathing, the air thick with something unspoken, something waiting to crawl out of the shadows. The moans, the laughter, the distant cries. They slip through the cracks in the walls, echoing in my mind, filling the spaces where my own thoughts should be. Where do I begin? Or maybe I never do. I feel myself floating in this fog, the amber glow pressing against my eyes, blurring the edges of everything until it all runs together. There's no beginning, no end, just this endless stretch of something, and I can't tell if I'm awake. I don't think it matters. Halcyon knows, he knows, and he laughs, because he's seen it all. The trick, the lie, the endless show. But I keep going, keep playing my part, even if I don't remember the lines. Maybe that's the point. Maybe the trick is in not knowing when the world ends and where I begin. The old woman returns quietly, the soft padding of her steps barely cutting through the warmth of the room. She's carrying a folded stack of blankets in one arm, a pillow tucked under the other, her small frame moving steadily through the amber-lit space. Her glasses catch the glow of the fire, hiding her eyes as she approaches. "You'll want these," she says, her voice gentle, almost motherly, as she places the blankets and pillow on the chair beside me. The firelight flickers, casting her shadow long across the floor. It gets chilly in the rooms at night. I blink, my mind still fogged from the weight of the fire's heat. Rooms? The word slips out before I even know I've said it. "Yes, dear," she replies with a warm smile, adjusting the edge of the pillow, smoothing it as though she's done this 1,000 times. "Room 23. You'll find it just down the hall." Her voice has that familiar, easy cadence, like she's giving directions to an old friend. Room 23. The number hangs in the air, and for a moment, I wonder, am I just a guest here, passing through, or is this where I'm meant to stay, like the others? The thought drifts past, but I can't catch it. The blankets, the pillow, the way she speaks, it all feels so settled, as though my place has already been decided. But I can't tell if I'm being led somewhere, or if I've already arrived. She smiles again, the lines around her mouth deepening, and for a brief moment, I feel like I've missed something important. I stare at the blanket, thick and warm, waiting for some signal to tell me whether I'm welcome here or trapped. "You'll be comfortable," she says, her tone so soothing, so practiced. Everything's been prepared. I nod, not sure if I'm agreeing with her or just trying to push the strangeness away. The way she says it, though, prepared. It tugs at something deeper, but it slips away before I can grasp it. "Good night, dear." Her voice is like a lullaby, soft and quiet, as she turns to leave. "Room 23 is waiting for you." I watch her go, her figure swallowed by the hallway's shadows. My legs feel heavy, and the warmth of the fire clings to me, but something else stirs underneath. I glance at the blankets again, and I can't shake the feeling that I'm not just a guest in this place. There's a familiarity in her words, something that makes it feel like this room, room 23, wasn't just assigned to me, but waiting for me. The fire crackles softly behind me, but the room feels colder now, the amber light dimming at the edges. I sit there, staring at the blankets, feeling that strange pull between being welcomed and being bound, the weight of the place pressing in, just out of reach. I step into the hallway, and the amber glow that once bathed the room quickly fades, replaced by a riot of color that spills across the walls. Intense blues, sharp greens, and deep reds slash through the space, cutting across my face like neon brushstrokes in the dark. The shadows play tricks with the light, making the hallway feel longer, twisting, the rows of doors on either side warping as I walk past. Each step feels heavier, like I'm moving through something thicker than air. As I pass door after door, the lights flickering in their strange, chaotic dance, something bursts out of one of the rooms. Halcion, of course, now dressed in striped pajamas, a nightcap dangling comically in front of his eyes. He shakes a fist, his voice rising above the silence. "Cut out that racket." I blink, momentarily stunned, but he's already darting back into the room, slamming the door behind him. The lights continue their relentless shift, the hallway almost humming with the strange energy of it. Another door swings open as I approach, and there's Halcyon again, now poking his head out, grinning like a child caught sneaking out of bed. "Good night," he calls out in a sing-song voice, his words echoing down the corridor as though they've been stretched and pulled, bouncing off the walls. He disappears before I can react, the door shutting with a soft click. I keep walking, the colors flickering faster now, the hallway narrowing. The doors blur by, until suddenly, there's Halcyon again, standing in front of room 23. This time he's wearing a bellhop uniform straight out of an old movie, the red jacket pressed and polished, a cap sitting crooked on his head. He bows dramatically, arms sweeping wide, his gloved hands pointing to the door like he's unveiling a grand prize. I stop, staring at him as he holds his bow, waiting. He glances up, grinning as he rubs his fingers together, thumb and forefinger making that unmistakable gesture. He wants a tip. I walk past him, not even acknowledging the request. His grin falters, the playful light in his eyes dimming. "Humph," Halcyon mutters, crossing his arms as he watches me go. With a huff, he stomps off, his footsteps exaggerated and heavy, disappearing back into one of the rooms as if he's sulking. The lights calm, settling into something softer now. I stop in front of room 23, the door looming quietly in front of me. I step, letting the door creak shut behind me. The same amber glow fills the space, but there's something about this room that feels different, familiar somehow, like I've been here before, even though I know I haven't. The walls are covered in this green and white wallpaper, patterns that seem to twist and curl like they're trying to tell a story. It isn't smooth. I run my fingers along the wall, feeling the raised designs, almost as if the patterns were alive, etched into the walls by someone who wanted them to last forever. Against the far wall, there's a dresser. It's old, like something that belonged on a ship centuries ago. The carvings are intricate, deep grooves that swirl and twist, almost too detailed for something as simple as a piece of furniture. A mirror sits on top, just as detailed, with vines and flowers carved into the frame. It's the kind of thing you'd expect to see in a museum, not in some room I've stumbled into. I stare at it for a second, the wood almost glowing in the amber light, and I can't help but wonder how long it's been sitting here. The bed's on the other side of the room, pressed up against the wall. The frame is heavy, solid, like it's been holding up that mattress for decades. I reach out and press my hand against the bedspread. It's soft, almost too soft, but I can't quite place the color. It slips out of my mind just like that, like the color never really mattered to begin with. I glance down at the carpet, thick and plush under my shoes, comfortable enough, but like the bed, the color just drifts out of reach. It's there, but not. I take a deep breath, the air heavy and familiar in a way that makes my chest tighten. The whole room feels like it's been sitting here, waiting for years, untouched, holding on to something I can't see. The dresser, the wallpaper, the bed, it's all just there, like it remembers something I don't, like it's a piece of a memory that never quite belonged to me. I move over to the dresser, drawn to it without really knowing why. My fingers trace the deep carvings as I pull open the top drawer. It slides out slowly, heavy and reluctant, like it hasn't been opened in years. Inside, everything's neat, perfectly in place, except for one thing. A book. It's old, the cover thick and rough, like it's been handled 1,000 times and never taken care of. I reach down, pick it up, and immediately notice how strange it feels. Like wax, but rougher, almost gritty under my fingers. The spine creaks when I shift it. The pages barely holding together, some sticking out at odd angles, torn and yellowed around the edges, as if they could fall out any second. The cover is plain, but carved into it are 3 words: The Vile Codex. My heart beats a little faster as I stare at the title, my fingers brushing across the raised letters. There's something about it, something that feels wrong, like the book is watching me, waiting for me to open it. I take a breath and crack it open, the pages creaking like old bones. The first page is smeared with something like it's been touched with dirty hands, but the words are clear. You don't need ink and paper to write, and you don't need sleep to dream. The words hit me harder than I expect, settling in my chest like a weight. I read them again, my fingers holding the edge of the page, unsure if I should turn it or put the book back and forget I ever saw it. But I turn the page. It's blank. I flip again. Blank. Page after page, each one empty. No ink, no words. Just the faint yellowing of old paper, edges torn, some pages sticking out like they're on the verge of falling apart. But there's nothing written. It's just empty. I flip through the whole thing, expecting something, anything to appear. But it stays the same. All those blank pages, staring back at me like they're mocking the idea of being a book at all. But that first page, those words won't leave me. You don't need sleep to dream. I shut the book, but it's as though the sentence lingers, pulsing in the silence around me. I rub my eyes, trying to shake the feeling when something drifts in from the hallway. A voice, soft and steady, carrying on a conversation just out of sight. I can hear her talking, her words long and drawn out, echoing off the walls like they're made of something softer, something fluid. I don't catch all of it at first. Just fragments. He's okay. Just a few bumps and bruises. Lucky, really. Her voice fades, replaced by the sound of distant footsteps, but then it returns, closer this time, each word blending into the next like a ripple in a pond. Could have hurt himself, or someone else. Her tone is gentle, but there's something underneath it, a weight that presses into my chest. I blink, trying to focus on the words, but they keep slipping away, sliding in and out of focus like they're not meant for me. But I can still hear her, even though I can't see who she's talking to. You've been lucky this time, you know? Could have been much worse. The words wrap around me, layering on top of the book's message. You don't need sleep to dream. And for a second, I'm not sure if the voice is talking about me or someone else. The conversation continues, drifting between the walls, but the woman's voice never fully comes into view. I listen, but it's like the hallway itself is speaking. The voice fades out, slipping through the cracks in the walls like vapor, but the words still linger, clinging to the edges of my thoughts. It's subtle, like a pressure, a twinge behind my eyes. But then it sharpens, burrowing deeper, and I feel a tug. Something pulling at the edges of my thoughts. I blink, trying to shake it off, but it's like part of me is being unraveled, stripped away. I want to scream, but my voice catches as though something is holding it down. I turn back to the room, my eyes widening as I see the flickering light twist and shift. Light and shadows pool together, moving like liquid, and from the corners, something emerges. I can't look at it directly, not yet, but I see it out of the corner of my eye, a grotesque shape, barely human, its form writhing and shifting, as if it can't decide what it wants to be. It moves slowly, with a deliberate, crawling hunger. There's no sound, but I feel it in my mind, something gnashing at my thoughts, biting into them like soft flesh. Each moment it lingers, I lose pieces of myself. The images in my head, memories, dreams, fragments of things I thought I understood, they're being devoured. I feel the sharpness of it, the way it chews through everything, leaving only blanks where thoughts should be. I try to hold on to something, anything, a memory, a name, a place, but it's gone, pulled from me before I can grasp it. My brain feels hollow, like something's digging out the soft parts, piece by piece. The creature slithers closer, its form still blurred and shifting, but I know it's watching me, feeding on me. And the worst part is, I can feel it enjoying this, savoring every bite, every piece of my mind it consumes. In the depths of shadows, where the colors of the world begin to fade and blur, silence coils tight around me, like broken jade fragments glittering in the dark. There's a hunger stirring somewhere beyond sight, a cold, gnawing force creeping quietly through the night, and I can feel it now, an unseen mouth feasting on the light of my thoughts. The colors of my mind, once vibrant and strong, flicker weakly now, trembling as they lose their hold. It's as though whispered teeth, sharp and delicate, sink deeper into the folds of my consciousness, devouring dreams and consuming the very essence of the deep places within me. The rich hues of thought, once fresh and bold, bleed into nothingness, as though my mind is unraveling, each color dripping away, bled into the shadows. Red turns to rust, blue fades into dust, and the gold that used to thread through every spark of imagination is pulled apart and swallowed whole. In this strange, hollow space, where thoughts were once alive, the darkness claims them all. They rot in silence, shadows blackening every last flicker of color, every last thread of light. Here, in the halls of shifting dreams, where nothing ever remains as it was, I can feel the feast begin, as my mind is laid bare, stripped and consumed. Every last color fades, dissolving into air, until there's nothing left. The world around me twists, my thoughts fading, the colors draining into the shadows as the creature gnaws deeper into my mind. I'm losing myself, my memories, my dreams, swallowed piece by piece. And then, just as the last threads of thought begin to unravel, something loud cuts through the darkness. "Don't worry, Blake." "I gotcha." Out of nowhere, Halcion bursts onto the scene, hopping into view with a glass in hand. He's dressed in a ridiculous mismatched outfit, cartoonishly oversized, with a towel slung over one shoulder like a waiter. He's pouring water from a pitcher, spilling half of it on the floor as he yells, "I'll save you, buddy. No problem at all." Before I can even react, he fills the glass, overflows it, really, and instead of helping me, he downs the entire thing in one gulp. "Ah," he sighs, wiping his mouth dramatically, then looks at me. "Oops, wait, hold on." Without missing a beat, he refills the glass, and with exaggerated movements, he splashes the water right in my face. "Take that," he yells triumphantly, as if he's vanquished some great enemy. The cold water shocks me, snapping me out of the strange trance I'd been sinking into. I blink, shaking off the fog, and that gnawing, hungry presence begins to retreat, as though Halcyon's ridiculous antics actually worked. The creature, whatever it was, slinks back into the shadows, its form dissolving into the corners of the room. Halcyon stands tall, well, as tall as a 2-foot cartoonish figure can, with his hands on his hips, chest puffed out in victory. "That'll show 'em," he exclaims proudly. He glances around the room, his eyes darting from one corner to the next, and then leans in close to me, whispering in a conspiratorial tone. "You know, Blake, this place might not be as safe as we thought. Call it a hunch." He taps his head with a grin, as if he's the genius of the operation. Then, without missing a beat, Halcyon turns and looks directly at the fourth wall, giving an exaggerated wink to an audience only he seems to see. "Anyway, gotta go. Don't go getting into any more trouble." And with that, he scurries off, disappearing just as quickly as he arrived. A knock at the door snaps me back to the present. I blink, wiping the lingering feeling of water from my face. Except, my face is dry. Completely dry. Like nothing happened at all. I stare at my reflection for a moment longer before the knock comes again, this time more insistent. I open the door, and there stands the old woman, her small frame almost blending into the dim light of the hallway. She peers up at me, concern etched into every wrinkle. "Are you all right, dear?" she asks softly, her voice almost drowned by the quiet creaks of the building. "Yeah," I say, though I'm not entirely sure. "But I think I should probably leave." She steps inside before I can say anything else, closing the door softly behind her. "Oh, you can't leave just yet." Her tone is gentle, but firm. She walks over to the window, her hand resting on the latch as she pauses, giving me a look like she's about to reveal something I won't like. She opens the window, and a thick, impenetrable fog immediately seeps in around the edges, curling into the room like it's alive. I step closer, looking out into the endless white. Nothing. You can't see an inch beyond the glass. The world outside is swallowed, erased by this dense fog that seems to stretch forever. Then, from somewhere deep within the fog, a sound, a scream. It's distant, barely audible at first, but it grows, twisting, contorting, splitting into a chorus of shrieks. The sound is ragged, desperate, like claws being dragged across metal. It's not just one scream, but many, layered over one another in a nightmarish cacophony, voices rising and falling in sheer, agonized terror. The kind of scream that claws its way into your bones and settles there, leaving a trail of ice in its wake. The old woman closes the window, but the sound lingers in the air, echoing faintly through the walls. She turns to me, her face pale but calm. You wouldn't make it 2 feet out there before being devoured by the things. Her eyes narrow slightly as though she's remembering something. They're always hungry in the fog. I swallow hard, my mouth dry. What things? She shakes her head slowly. It's better if you don't know. It's probably better if I do know, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. The old woman sighs, the weight of it sinking into the room. She turns to face me, her eyes narrowing as if weighing whether or not to tell me the truth. You don't understand what you're asking, she says softly, her voice carrying a sadness I hadn't noticed before. I've lived here long enough to know one thing for sure, she continues, walking slowly back to the window. What's out there? They aren't just monsters. They're the unknowable. Vicious, yes, but it's more than that. She pauses, staring into the fog as though she can see them moving within it. It's hard to explain. They take something from you, but not in the way you'd expect. They don't tear at flesh or bones. No, they do something worse. Her hands tremble slightly as she rests them on the windowsill. My husband, he was the first to go. They took him piece by piece, but not in body, in mind. It started slowly. He began to lose himself, to drift. He would forget things, little things at first, where he'd left his coat, whether he'd locked the door. And then it became worse. He'd sit for hours, staring into nothing, his eyes hollow, as though he was watching something only he could see. She turns to look at me, her face pale and drawn, her voice barely above a whisper now. It's like they peel back the edges of reality, strip away the walls we build to keep our fears at bay. They unravel you, thread by thread, until there's nothing left but your deepest phobias, laid bare. You become trapped in them, paranoid, confused, terrified of everything. I swallow hard, the chill in her words sinking into my bones. By the time they were done with him, she says, he wasn't the man I'd married. He wasn't anyone. He was just lost in his own thoughts, his fears. And once they've taken everything from you, they move on. They leave you with nothing but the ghosts of what you once were. She closes the window, her face tight with the memory. That's why you can't leave, Blake. You wouldn't make it far before they found you. They feed on the lost and the frightened. Out there in the fog, they wait. The old woman leaves, her footsteps fading down the hall, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I sit on the bed, the book still clutched in my hands. I should have asked her about it, about the strange words that appeared, about why it feels so heavy in my mind. But the fatigue weighs down on me now, dragging me further from those questions. I glance at the book one last time, the blank pages flickering in the dim light, and then I lie back. The world shifts as my eyes close, the amber glow softening into a blur. Sleep pulls at me, slow and steady, until everything fades away. But when I wake, it's wrong. There's a low hum in the air, rising and falling like a distant chant. My head throbs. The room feels colder, sharper. I sit up, the weight of sleep still clinging to me, and for a moment, I think I'm dreaming. But the sounds are too real, moaning, loud and guttural, vibrating through the walls. I push myself off the bed, my limbs heavy with the remnants of sleep, and step toward the door. The hallway stretches out before me, bathed in harsh, unnatural light. Stark flashes of green, blue, and red slice across my face, cutting through the darkness in jagged beams. The colors ripple along the walls, ceiling, and floor like they're alive, shifting and crawling with every step I take. The moaning grows louder as I walk, echoing in the distance, accompanied by low murmurs, rhythmic and unsettling. like a chant I can't quite make out. My skin prickles with every sound. When I reach the lobby, my breath catches. The scene in front of me isn't real. It can't be real. But it's there, vivid and grotesque. A group of people, dozens of them, stand in a semicircle, bowing and swaying in unison, their voices rising and falling like a twisted chorus. The moaning and chanting intertwine, growing louder with every second. Their heads, their skulls are torn open, jagged, with skin and bone peeled back like fruit. Exposed brains throb, pulsating with every chant, and as I watch, they reach up with trembling hands, digging into the flesh of their own minds. Pieces of their brains, wet, glistening pink-gray matter, are pulled free, held up like offerings. They step forward, one by one, presenting the fragments to the figure standing at the center of the room. The figure, tall, thin, and grotesque, looms over them, its form draped in shadow, but there's no mistaking its presence. It reaches out with long skeletal fingers, accepting the offerings with a cold, detached grace. Each time a piece of brain is handed over, the figure consumes it, its mouth, inhuman and too wide, stretching open as it devours the pieces whole. The people's eyes roll back, their bodies shaking violently as they offer more, as though they're caught in a trance, compelled to give up every part of themselves. The chanting grows louder, the moaning more frantic, until it's all I can hear, filling every corner of the room, pressing in on me, a suffocating wave of sound and horror. The chanting slows, and as if on cue, all the heads turn toward me at once. Their eyes, clouded, distant, like they're seeing something far beyond this room, fix on me. The moaning stops, replaced by a low, unsettling murmur that spreads through the group. "The one who made us," they say in unison, their voices flat and hollow, the words blending together like a single sound. There's no emotion, no malice, just a statement, cold and disconnected. I stare back at them, my mind spinning, trying to understand what they mean. Made them? Who? What? The figure at the center remains motionless, still cloaked in shadow, its form rippling slightly as if caught between this world and another. I take a step back, my heart pounding in my chest. Instinct kicks in. I need to get out of here. I turn to go back to my room, but something is wrong. It doesn't feel like I'm moving myself. The building shifts beneath me, subtly at first, as though the hallway has decided to rearrange itself. The walls seem to twist and bend, the ceiling lowering, pressing down on me as the floor tilts gently. It feels as though the very space around me is alive, guiding me, gently but insistently pushing me down the hallway. I try to stop, but my feet move without effort, as if I'm floating on a slow-moving current. The air grows heavier, the lights flickering once more, casting those sharp green, blue, and red beams across my face, tracing patterns on the walls and floor. The hallway stretches before me, endless and winding, yet at the same time I feel the familiar pull of my room. I glance over my shoulder, and the figures are still there, watching me with their hollow eyes, their heads slightly tilted, the strange words still hanging in the air. The one who made us. Before I realize it, I'm back at my door. The world rights itself, the building releasing its hold on me, and I step inside, the door closing softly behind me with a barely audible click. I stand in the center of the room, but something is off. It doesn't feel like my room anymore. The familiar amber glow flickers, but beneath it, everything seems to shift. The dresser, the wallpaper, they begin to blur at the edges, dissolving into something else, something colder. The bed stretches longer, the sheets now thin, stiff, too white. There's a smell, faint, sterile like disinfectant, hanging in the air, mixing with a soft hum that shouldn't be there. I stand still, but it feels like the walls are breathing, folding inward as though they're trying to close in on me. Then, the voices. Soft at first, rising from nowhere, yet echoing all around me. "He'll be okay. just needs to rest. Calm, steady, but they swirl around the room, circling like they're caught in the air. I don't know where they're coming from, but they won't stop. I glance at the bed, except it's not the bed I remember. The old wooden frame is gone, replaced by something metallic, sterile. Shadows flicker on the walls, instruments maybe, things that don't belong. The cold creeps in, wrapping around me, seeping into my skin. It feels real, but it can't be. The walls pulse, shifting like they're made of something fluid, dissolving into this place that doesn't belong to me. I want to move, but I'm rooted in place, staring as the bed, the walls, the air itself becomes something I don't recognize. And then, it's gone. The warmth returns, slow and thick, like a blanket draped over the room. The amber light flickers back into place. The dresser reappears. The walls settle. Room 23. My room. Or at least what it should be. But those voices, they still linger, hanging in the air like ghosts. I take a breath, trying to shake the fog from my mind. A sharp, guttural yell pierces through the walls, cutting through the stillness of the room. It's not just a scream. It's filled with desperation, raw and frightening. I freeze, my breath catching in my throat. "I'll dream for you," the voice howls, muffled but frantic, coming from somewhere down the hall. "I'll write for you." The words slam into me, each one more unsettling than the last. My heart races. My grip tightens around the book in my hands. When did I start holding it so tight? "Please, just leave me to it. I can't take this anymore." The scream crescendos, rattling something deep in my chest. There's a sharp bang, something hitting the walls or the floor. I can't tell. Suddenly, the book in my hands jerks. Before I realize what's happening, it flies from my grip as if it has a mind of its own, hitting the floor with a heavy thud. I stumble back, my pulse racing, watching in horror as the book opens by itself, pages flapping wildly as though caught in a violent wind. I blink, trying to make sense of the writing that spills onto the pages in front of me, but the words sear themselves into my mind. Dark, violent words, filled with images I can't push away. Orgies of blood and chaos. Tentacles, writhing, slithering from unseen depths, curling through gaping orifices, wounds torn open like mouths. I try to look away, but the words claw at my mind, filling me with images I can't unsee. New entry. The vile codex. One good day. I am but a shadow, a whisper on the edge of your thoughts. I once walked where you now tread, hands trembling with the same ritualistic terror that binds you. Now I linger, torn from flesh, and bound in the maddening folds of existence you dare not understand. I was like you, yearning for control, for order, a fragile balm against the sprawling madness beneath the surface of reality. It began with my attempts to stave off chaos, to create my own feeble sanctuary of order. My life, like yours, revolved around patterns, a dance to unseen, unknowable gods. A sock here, a book just there, all pieces aligned like cosmic gears, turning, to prevent the grotesque from crawling in. But oh, how futile it was. Beneath it all, they waited. Not the stars, no, but the things beneath them. The ones that whisper in the cracks of our world, where reality is thinnest. You know them, don't you? You feel them, brushing the edges of your mind as you count, arrange, plead. But it is not enough. It was never enough. They took me, devoured me, like they will you. It started slowly, tentacles of thought that wound themselves tighter around my consciousness, pulsing with strange, oily life. The tendrils of madness, oh, how they squirmed beneath the surface, suffocating every logical thread I tried to hold. I could see them in my dreams, coiling through the fabric of reality, sinking into every object I touched, every word I spoke. They are patient, they wait, feeding on the rituals, on the very compulsions that we think will save us. But they grow hungry. In time, I saw them everywhere. Their writhing forms, too many to count, slithering from cracks in the walls, from the spaces between thoughts. They do not consume flesh, no. They tear apart what is unseen. They feast on what you think you are, on the fragile scaffolding of identity and control. I felt them peel back my sense of self, layer by layer, until all that remained was the madness, orgies of blood, tentacles wrapping themselves around the spine of reality, penetrating orifices like wounds that would never heal. I felt them in my veins, squirming, pulsing, and growing as I tried to hold them back with rituals and bargains. But the bargains were lies. There is no appeasing them. You think you can arrange the world to keep them at bay, but it is your very attempts to control that summon them. I remember the day the final veil was torn. The room was nothing but pulsating red, slick with the blood of thoughts. Tentacles, wet and glistening, sprouted from the walls, coiling around the flesh of my mind like serpents tasting a ripe fruit. They squeezed, tighter and tighter, until I could feel the splintering of reality itself. They whispered in the darkness, promises of pain, of madness unending, until I could see nothing but the void, a void filled with mouths and orifices that fed on me, pulled at me, until I became them. I am them. Now I wander here, unseen, but always watching, always waiting. I feel you, pulling at the same threads, pleading for just one good day. But it will not come. They will have you, as they had me, as they have countless others before us. Your rituals are futile, your patterns their feast. I was like you once, arranging, controlling. Now I am nothing but a shadow of the madness they left behind. You hear them, don't you? In the space between thoughts, in the dark corners of your mind, they wait. And when you are ready, they will come. My breath comes in shallow gasps, the grotesque vision still twisting in my head like a memory that doesn't belong to me. The whispers of the specter fade, and for a moment, I don't know where I am. The words, those terrible words about the tentacles and blood, about madness and orifices like wounds, cling to my thoughts, wrapping around them like the things they described. And then I hear it again, knocking, louder this time. The same room where the screams had echoed only moments before. The rhythmic pounding follows, slow and deliberate, each slam reverberating through the walls like the pulse of something alive, something hungry. The building itself shudders with each blow, rattling in a way that makes the air feel thick and heavy. I can't move. My legs refuse to respond, rooted to the floor as though I'm bound by the lingering horror of what I've just seen, just felt. And then silence. Absolute, crushing silence. I sit back down on the bed, my head in my hands, feeling trapped, like the walls are closing in on me. My breath is shallow, my chest tight, and I can't shake the madness I've just seen, the screams, the grotesque visions flashing in my mind. It feels like they're wrapped around my thoughts, refusing to let go. My eyes drift down to the floor, where the book landed after it flew from my hands. It's lying there, pages still open, but I don't dare look at it again. I let out a shaky breath, trying to ground myself, but then I notice something else. Halcion, sitting at the foot of the bed. He's got reading glasses perched on the tip of his nose. Glasses that definitely weren't there before, and he's holding some invisible book, flipping through the pages like he's analyzing the deepest mysteries of the universe. His brow is furrowed far too much, like he's trying way too hard to look serious. He keeps shifting, fidgeting like he can't quite get comfortable. He mutters, dramatically flipping a page. Yes, I see. I blink, staring at him, still dazed from everything that's happened. I feel like I should say something, but the words don't come. Aha! Halcyon exclaims suddenly, raising a finger as if he's just discovered the meaning of life. Of course. It all makes sense now. I just watch him, unsure whether I should laugh or cry. He looks up at me, pushing his non-existent glasses higher on his nose. his squint growing more intense. "You ever notice how much time you spend trying to control things?" he asks, waiting like he's expecting me to respond. But I just keep staring. Halcyon presses on, seemingly undeterred by my silence. "You see, control's a funny thing, Blake. You think if you arrange everything just right, you can keep the chaos at bay, right? But no. That's the trick." He taps the side of his head, his voice dropping as though he's sharing a secret. "The more you try to hold on, the more it slips away. You end up trapped, lost in your own head, rearranging chairs on a sinking ship." I stare at him, feeling the weight of his words settle in. "But here's the fun part, old buddy, old pal," he says, hopping off the bed and pushing his glasses up once more, only for them to vanish into thin air. "You're not the captain of this ship? Never were. Let go of the wheel every once in a while. Trust me, it'll save you a lot of trouble." He gives me a friendly pat on the shoulder, then stands tall with his hands on his hips like he's just solved all my problems. With a quick wink, Halcyon turns and strolls toward the door, as if none of this is even worth a second thought. "See you when I see ya," he says over his shoulder before walking out, leaving me alone once again with the quiet and the book still lying on the floor. I reach down, my fingers brushing against the book's rough, uneven cover. Lifting it, I feel the weight settle in my hands, heavier than before, as though it's gathering strength from somewhere I can't see. The spine creaks as I open it, the pages whispering against one another, dry and delicate. The words from that first page linger. You don't need ink and paper to write, and you don't need sleep to dream. I turn the page, feeling the paper's age under my fingertips, each layer torn and worn. At first, there's nothing, just blank space. Then slowly, like ink bleeding from some unseen quill, lines begin to form. Hazy, shadowy outlines etching into focus, a scene emerging as though the page itself is breathing it to life. A hospital room, dim and gray, appears before me, sketching itself in real time. A doctor leans close to a blurred figure beside him, a nurse, her face melting in and out of form. "He doesn't want to leave," he murmurs, words faint, smeared, "even though he's fine." The page flicks over by itself, each motion fluid, deliberate, as though something hidden wants me to see. The lines grow darker, more frantic, and there in the bed lies a figure, limp, lifeless. His arms dangle from invisible strings, his body a puppet in waiting. And then his face twists into something eerily familiar, my own. The face stares back at me, hollow and blank. Darkness begins to thicken around the edges of my sight, but not fully, just enough to play their tricks, to turn every shape and shadow into something almost recognizable. Objects in the room stretch and tilt, each surface taking on a new, watchful expression. The dresser's wood grains deepen into dark, hollow eyes, knots warping into twisted mouths that seem to grin, leer, and smirk as if laughing at some unseen joke. It feels invasive, as though their eyes are on me. The bed frame creaks, and shadows ripple across it, casting dark hollows like empty, staring sockets. The book in my hand vibrates, and its cover seems to shift. Folds of its waxy form flicker in and out of the dim light. A nose, a gaping mouth, all angled toward me with an eerie awareness. The floor tilts, unsteady beneath my feet, and fog curls up from below, spilling around my legs, chilling my skin. Voices murmur within the shadows, rasping, laughing, blending with agonized screams that echo from the hall, from the other rooms. The walls pulse, shifting as though alive, their surfaces bulging and contorting like something pushing from the other side. Faces materialize everywhere, emerging and dissolving in the fog. They twist into familiar forms, only to distort, stretch, each shape becoming more grotesque, more knowing. The floor tilts harder, and I shake my head, their stares pressing against me like a weight, pulling at my mind, leaving me adrift in this strange, all-knowing dark. The floor pitches sharply, and I lurch sideways, crashing into the dresser. My shoulder takes the brunt of it, and pain reverberates through me as the mirror wobbles, then topples, shattering around me in a burst of jagged fragments that scatter across the floor like fractured stars. Fog curls in, seeping over each shard, twisting around them as if awakening something dormant. The pieces tremble, then begin to stir, shifting in strange patterns, as though guided by an unseen hand. They twist and turn, each fragment catching the dim light, bending it, transforming it. The shards begin to dance, a slow, haunting ballet of sharp, glinting edges that spin and sway in an eerie, rhythmic harmony. As I watch, something begins to emerge within each piece, a shadowed figure slowly taking form, a being seated above all, suspended in some void so deep it feels endless, stretching beyond time, beyond anything that can be known. The entity's shape flickers between solid and vaporous, as though it exists in a state between thought and reality. Its hand moves in steady strokes, writing or weaving something into the very fabric of existence. I feel each movement pull at the edges of my thoughts, as though its actions resonate within me. In the depths behind it, a vast dark expanse looms, an infinity that shifts, alive and silent, like the memory of a place I've never been but cannot forget. The glass trembles, and the figure within grows clearer, fractured across each shard, multiplying and shifting with every angle. I can feel it, aware of me, watching me with a terrible patience, as though I am part of its work, caught in the lines it traces, unable to escape. The shards press closer, encircling me with this infinite, consuming presence, their edges gleaming like 1,000 eyes, each one carrying a fragment of this being's gaze. The fog thickens, filling the room with a suffocating weight, pulling at my mind as the shadows close in, drawing me deeper, erasing the world until there is only this endless, all-knowing dark. Words seep from the shards, crawling free, slithering up from the broken glass like tendrils of ink. They rise and curl into the fog, each phrase hovering in the mist, circling me, enclosing me. They fill the air, heavy and invasive, writing themselves into the fabric of my thoughts. Slowly, a dark chant weaves through the silence, pressing into my mind, cold and sharp. Your mind ripens, soft beneath strain, and I devour it whole. I press into every hidden ache, sinking my teeth into your weakest flesh. I carve through each layer, dragging darkness where once you were whole. Bruised and fractured, you fall, and I savor the shattering, the bitter sweetness that bleeds as you break. The fog thickens, pulling you down, unraveling your thoughts to nothing, just hollow echoes of what was once you. The words seep into the fog, echoing, each line lingering like a spell. I blink, my mind a blur, and harsh fluorescent light sears through my vision. I squint, instinctively turning my head, but the light follows, pressing down from above, cold and unwavering. A sterile, too-bright ceiling stares back at him, tiles perfectly arranged, stretching out like an endless grid, each square a prison for his thoughts. The faint smell of antiseptic lingers, sharp and biting. My hands are weighed down by coarse sheets, thin and scratchy, tugging against my wrists as I try to move. I shifts, and beneath me, I feel the stiffness of a mattress that yields too little, as if designed to keep me bound in place. Shadows of figures drift along the edges of my vision, blurred faces with unreadable expressions, watching me in the silence. I try to pull away, to retreat further into my mind, but each thought shatters into sharp, jarring fragments. Flashes of faces, a room that stretches into infinity, and the fog curling around me, thick and knowing. The light above pulses, flickering with each breath, as though it's drawing me deeper, a silent force that slices through my attempts to escape, forcing me back into this sterile, endless present. A figure emerges from the corner of my vision, a man in a crisp white coat, stark against the fluorescent glare. His approach is slow, deliberate, footsteps echoing in the sterile silence. As he nears, my gaze sharpens, catching the unnatural way the man's skin tightens, then fractures, hairline cracks snaking across his cheeks, his hands. The man pauses, and I watch as in horror as bits of skin begin to flake away, drifting off like ash. Beneath the cracking surface, there's no muscle, no sinew, only a hollow void. A darkness where flesh should be, an emptiness that stretches far deeper than it should. The man steps closer, his face peeling away in patches, revealing nothing beneath but an endless gaping absence. The fluorescent light above flickers, illuminating the darkness within him, an infinite void that seems to pulse, drawing my gaze, consuming every attempt he makes to look away. The figure's hollow eyes hold me in place. The man's hollow eyes lock onto me, and as I stare into the void within them, something shifts, something ancient and feverish. In the depths of that darkness, I glimpse a form hunched over, skeletal and withered, its flesh a parchment of decay, thin brown skin stretched tight over brittle bones. The figure hovers, motionless but for the steady, relentless motion of its hand, scraping a quill across the paper with an urgency that feels like it's bleeding existence into each line. I squint, my breath catching as the fog around me thickens, almost binding me in place, and there, leaning over the hunched figure, is Halcion. I watch, bewildered, as he covers his mouth, stifling a laugh, his bright eyes gleaming with mischief as he peers over the figure's shoulder. He cocks his head, studying the skeletal form with a theatrical squint, then calls out, "What you writing, Grim?" The figure ignores him, its head bobbing slightly as it continues to scrawl, each stroke deepening the dark, ethereal shadows around it. Halcion glances at me, his grin broadening like we're both in on some cosmic joke, then lifts a finger, pointing lazily at the haggard scribe. "What a nerd," he says, as if confiding in me. Then, with an exaggerated flourish, Halcion reaches into thin air, his hand dipping into some unseen pocket. He pulls out an enormous mallet, its wooden head looking heavy enough to crush stone, and heaves it high above him. I want to shout, to call out, but my voice is trapped in my throat. Halcion swings with a wild grin, bringing the mallet down in a sweeping arc. Bonk. The quill wobbles in the skeletal hand, the ink splattering across the parchment like blood in slow motion, and for a moment, the figure falters, reality flickering around it, caught in a dark stutter between worlds. And then, silence, dense and complete, presses against me, leaving me suspended in the strange, knowing darkness. Then, a sound erupts, filling the air around me. A yell, but not like any human scream. It surges up from somewhere deep, vast, as if it's being pulled from the belly of the world. It has the thunderous quality of a wave crashing against cliffs, raw and relentless, but beneath it is something animal, a rumble that vibrates with the ferocity of a tiger's roar echoing through a dark cave. The sound ripples, tearing through the silence, its fury unfurling like a storm breaking over the sea, each pulse rolling closer, thick and powerful, shaking everything to its core. It claws into the air, spilling with rage that twists like a whirlpool, roaring through the fog, reverberating against the walls, its power pressing against my chest until I can hardly breathe. I lie sprawled on the floor, my mind still reeling from the echoes of that roar, its rage lingering in the very air. The shards around me pulse, fog drifting like dark tendrils ready to tighten. I blink, trying to gather myself, when suddenly a bright burst of energy leaps into the room. Halcion. He's grinning, hands on his hips, his eyes wide, darting with a wild, almost manic glee, like he's here and yet somehow miles away. His head tilts, that peculiar look he always has, a mix of goofy delight and a strange, unhinged edge, as if he's barely tethered to the room around him. "He's pretty when he's angry, don't you think?" he says, his voice bouncing with an enthusiasm that's just off-kilter enough to unsettle. Before I can even respond, Halcion reaches behind his back and, with a grand flourish, pulls out a vacuum cleaner, a ridiculous, oversized thing, painted a blinding shade of red with a chrome nozzle that gleams in the dim light. He flicks it on with a wink, and the roar of the machine fills the room, louder than the echoes of that otherworldly scream. The fog twists and curls as it's sucked up, swirling into the vacuum's nozzle. The shards, glinting with fragments of that cosmic void, rattle on the floor before lifting, one by one, disappearing into the gaping maw of Halcion's absurd machine. He hums cheerfully over the sound, his feet tapping as he sweeps the room clean of the darkness, of the fragments, of the roar itself, until all that remains is the quiet hum of the vacuum and his satisfied, slightly crazed smile. With a flourish, Halcion strikes a pose, arms wide, eyebrows arched, a huge grin on his face. "Ta-da!" he exclaims, like he's just performed the greatest act in history. Then he glances down at me, tilting his head with that wild, unfocused gleam in his eyes. "Blake," he says, kneeling beside me, voice soft but tinged with that unmistakable manic cheer. "If you're gonna dream all day, make it a good one." His gaze darts around the room, eyes narrowing. This place ain't the place to do it. Then, without a pause, he springs up, feet barely touching the ground. He dashes across the room and leaps straight out the window, legs kicking wildly in the air as he vanishes into the night, a trail of fog swirling behind him. The fog swirls, thickening again as Halcion's laughter fades, leaving me in the dense, eerie silence. I lie still, barely breathing, as the shadows press close, shifting just beyond sight. Somewhere in the walls, there's a hum, a quiet vibration that builds, a low chorus of moans, distant screams that echo down endless corridors. The cries twist around me, layered with laughter that doesn't sound quite right, hollow and warped, as though it's been drifting here forever. I remember flashes of a room, sterile, bright, the cold press of metal against my back, a smell sharp and antiseptic. But when I reach for it, the memory slips away, replaced by the creak of doors opening to dimly lit hallways, filled with figures hunched and staring, faces blurred, drifting through the fog. An old woman's voice drifts through the haze, calm yet edged with something darker. "You wouldn't make it out there. They wait for you." Her words loop in my head like a chant, like a lullaby. And I wonder if she was ever real, or if she too is something pulled from the pages of the vile codex. The fog presses in, a sentient force, thick with something older, heavier. The screams continue, echoing through walls that feel familiar yet distant, like the ghost of another life. This place, this maze of walls and shadows, holds me, half memory, half dream, as if I've always been here, wandering its endless halls, bound to this space by threads I can't see, can't break. The thought presses against me, heavy and certain. This isn't an escape. It's a cage for dreamers. The building's walls pulse, knowing, the fog thickens, and in the back of my mind, Halcion's voice drifts back, half taunt, half warning. "If you're gonna dream, Blake, make it a good one."